Austin Holmes adjusts his collar, fighting the urge to reveal his private parts to the alien diplomat's daughter. The formal reception hall of the Lurian embassy thrums with activity, a sea of iridescent blue skin and large mesmerizing eyes. 1 year into the human-Lurian cooperation on Mars terraforming, this celebration should be a triumph of interspecies diplomacy. Instead, Austin finds himself at the center of a potential interstellar incident. Petra, the Lurian ambassador's daughter, stands before him, her alien features alight with scientific curiosity. "Please, Austin," she insists, her voice a melodic trill. "I simply must understand human anatomy. I'll show you mine if you show me yours." Austin's face burns. He glances around, noticing nearby diplomats turning to stare. "I'm sorry, Petra, but that would be highly inappropriate, especially here." Petra's brow furrows, an oddly human expression on her alien face. "But why? It's purely for scientific purposes." Before Austin can formulate a response, a commotion erupts. The Lurian ambassador himself strides over, his ornate robes swishing. "My deepest apologies, Mr. Holmes," he says, placing a hand on Petra's shoulder. "My daughter sometimes forgets that other species have different views on bodily privacy." Austin nods, forcing a smile. "No harm done, Ambassador. Perhaps we could discuss our cultural differences in a more appropriate setting?" The ambassador beams. "An excellent suggestion. Join us for dinner tomorrow evening?" As the Lurians move away, Austin notices other alien eyes upon him. Whispers ripple through the crowd, and he catches fragments about human anatomy. With a sinking feeling, he realizes the entire Lurian delegation now shares Petra's intense curiosity about human bodies. Austin discreetly taps his comm device. "Dr. Rodriguez, we have a situation." Dr. Elena Rodriguez, his superior, responds immediately. "Report, Holmes." Austin quickly outlines the incident, ending with, "How do I handle this without offending our hosts or compromising human dignity?" There's a pause before Dr. Rodriguez replies, her voice tight. "Maintain diplomacy, Holmes, but avoid any intimate revelations. I'm alerting military intelligence. They're concerned the Lurians' sudden interest might have darker motivations." Austin's stomach churns. What started as an awkward cultural misunderstanding now carries the weight of potential galactic conflict. He scans the room, seeing Lurian eyes dart away as he meets their gaze. "Understood, Doctor. I'll gather more information without revealing anything sensitive." As the reception winds down, Petra approaches again, this time with her father in tow. The ambassador smiles warmly. "Mr. Holmes, we'd be honored if you'd join us for a private dinner tomorrow to discuss cultural exchange in more detail." Austin forces a smile, knowing he must navigate this delicate situation with utmost care. The fate of the human-Lurian alliance, and perhaps humanity's secrets, hangs in the balance. "I'd be delighted, Ambassador," he says, meeting Petra's eager gaze. "I look forward to our discussion." Austin straightened his tie as he approached the ornate doors of the Lurian embassy. The events of the previous night's reception still fresh in his mind. He took a deep breath before pressing the chime. The door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a Lurian attendant who bowed slightly. "Mr. Holmes, welcome. The ambassador and his daughter await you in the dining chamber." Following the attendant through winding corridors, Austin marveled at the alien architecture. Bioluminescent plants cast a soft, ethereal glow along the walls, pulsing gently as if in time with an unseen heartbeat. The air carried a faint, sweet scent reminiscent of Earth's jasmine. The dining room took Austin's breath away. A living tapestry of glowing flora covered the ceiling, bathing the room in shimmering blue and purple light. In the center stood a table crafted from what appeared to be a single piece of polished obsidian, its surface reflecting the bioluminescent dance above. Ambassador Zorn rose to greet him, his iridescent skin catching the light. "Mr. Holmes, how delightful of you to join us. Please, be seated." Petra sat beside her father, her large eyes fixed on Austin with undisguised fascination. As Austin took his seat, she leaned forward, her voice a melodic trill. "I'm so pleased you came, Austin. I have so many questions for you." The meal began with a series of unfamiliar dishes. Gelatinous cubes that changed color when touched, spiral-shaped fruits that emitted a soft humming sound, and what appeared to be living crystals that dissolved on the tongue. As they ate, Ambassador Zorn steered the conversation towards cultural exchange. "You see, Mr. Holmes," the ambassador explained, gesturing with a utensil that looked more like a musical instrument than a fork. "Lurians have always been fascinated by the biology of other species. It's deeply ingrained in our culture. Since our first contact with humans, we've been studying your physiology, but certain aspects remain elusive." Austin nodded, choosing his words carefully. "I understand, Ambassador. Humans do tend to be more private about certain biological matters. Perhaps you could tell me more about Lurian physiology? I'm afraid our knowledge is somewhat limited as well." Petra's eyes lit up at the question. "Oh, it's quite fascinating. We have 3 distinct genders, each playing a crucial role in reproduction. Our mating ritual is complex, involving all 3 in a dance of genetic exchange." As Petra launched into a detailed explanation of Lurian reproduction, Austin noticed her moving closer to him. Her hand brushed his arm, lingering longer than necessary. Her skin shimmered with an intensity that hadn't been present before, and Austin realized with a jolt that this might be a sign of Lurian arousal. Ambassador Zorn watched their interaction with apparent approval. "Perhaps," he suggested, his voice low and conspiratorial, "you and Petra might engage in a more intimate cultural exchange after our meal. I'm sure you both have much to learn from each other." Austin's heart raced as he recognized the delicate situation he was in. He needed to gather information without compromising himself or Earth's secrets. "That's very kind of you, Ambassador. I'm certainly eager to learn more about your people." As the meal progressed, Petra's questions became more pointed, focusing on human anatomy and reproduction. Austin deflected as best he could, turning the conversations back to Lurian biology whenever possible. Excusing himself to use the restroom, Austin found a moment of privacy to contact Dr. Rodriguez. He quickly relayed the situation, his voice low and urgent. "Holmes!" Dr. Rodriguez's voice crackled through the calm. "Military intelligence has intercepted troubling communications. There's a possibility the Lurians are developing bioweapons tailored to human physiology. Gather what information you can, but avoid any intimate contact. We can't risk them obtaining genetic samples." Austin's stomach dropped. He returned to the dining room to find Petra alone, her skin pulsing with bioluminescent patterns. "My father was called away on urgent business," she explained, her voice lilting. "Perhaps I could give you a tour of our embassy gardens?" Torn between his mission and the potential danger, Austin nodded. "I'd be honored, Petra." The gardens were a wonderland of alien flora. Floating orbs of light drifted between trees, with leaves that sang soft melodies when brushed. As they walked, Petra moved closer, her hand finding Austin's. "You know, Austin," she murmured, her face inches from his. "There's so much more I could show you about Lurian biology, up close and personal." Austin gently stepped back, his mind racing. "Petra, Frustration flashed across her alien features. "You don't understand. We Lurians can absorb genetic information through physical contact. My father, he ordered me to seduce you, to gather data on human biology." The revelation hit Austin like a physical blow. Petra continued, her voice heavy with guilt. "There are factions among my people who see humans as a threat. They're pushing for preemptive action against Earth. I didn't want to be part of it, but I had no choice." Austin's training kicked in as he processed this alarming information. He needed to alert Earth's authorities immediately, but he couldn't compromise his position or endanger the fragile alliance between their species. As Petra led him deeper into the gardens, Austin noticed movement in his peripheral vision. Lurian guards trying to remain hidden among the exotic foliage. With a sinking feeling, he realized he might not be free to leave the embassy. Petra's hand tightened on his arm, her eyes wide with fear and something else. "Hope? Austin, I want to help you, but we must be careful. My father's allies are everywhere, and they're watching us now." Austin's mind raced, searching for a way out of this precarious situation. The fate of Earth might well rest on his next move, and he had to act fast. But as he looked into Petra's alien eyes, He saw not an enemy, but a potential ally in a dangerous game of interstellar politics. Austin's mind raced as he looked into Petra's alien eyes, recognizing not just an enemy, but a potential ally in this dangerous game of interstellar politics. He made a split-second decision, one that could alter the course of human-Lurian relations forever. "Petra," he said, his voice low and urgent, "I need your help, but we can't talk here. Is there somewhere more private we can go?" Petra's bioluminescent skin pulsed with excitement. "Of course, Austin. Follow me." As they walked deeper into the embassy, Austin discreetly activated a small recording device hidden in the lining of his jacket. He guided the conversation skillfully, probing for information about the anti-human factions within Lurian society. "Tell me, Petra," he asked, feigning casual interest, "are all Lurians as fascinated by human biology as you and your father?" Petra's steps faltered slightly. Not all. There are some who fear humans. They believe your kind poses a threat to our way of life." Austin nodded encouragingly. "That must be difficult, having such division among your people. How do these factions plan to address their concerns?" As they reached a secluded room, Petra's guard lowered. She spoke more freely, revealing details about secret meetings, whispered plans for biological weapons tailored to human physiology. Austin's heart raced as he recorded every word, knowing the vital importance of this intelligence. The room they entered was small, intimate. Bioluminescent plants cast a soft, pulsing glow across the walls. Petra turned to Austin, her large eyes gleaming with anticipation. She reached out, her fingers brushing his chest. "Now, Austin," she purred, "shall we engage in some cultural exchange?" Austin allowed her to draw close, his mind working furiously. "Of course, Petra. But I need a moment to prepare myself. This is all so new to me." She nodded understanding. Stepping back, Austin used the opportunity to scan the room, noting the layout, the single door, the lack of windows. His gaze lingered on an air vent near the ceiling, a potential escape route if things went south. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the embassy. Ambassador Zorn's voice crackled over the intercom, urgent and angry. "Attention all personnel. The human Austin Holmes is a spy. Capture him immediately." Petra's eyes widened in shock. "Austin, what?" But Austin was already moving. He activated the EMP device concealed in his watch, sending a pulse of energy that fried the room's electronic systems. The door's locking mechanism sparked and died. "I'm sorry, Petra," Austin said, genuine regret in his voice. "I can't let your people use biological weapons against mine." He bolted from the room, leaving a stunned Petra behind. The embassy corridors were a maze, but Austin's memory of the earlier tour guided him. He sprinted past confused Lurian staff, his human physiology giving him a speed advantage. Rounding a corner, Austin came face to face with two Lurian guards. They raised their stun weapons, but Austin was faster. He ducked under their aim, using his momentum to slide between them. As he passed, he grabbed one guard's arm, using the Lurian's own weight to throw him off balance. The guard stumbled, crashing into his companion. Austin didn't wait to see them fall. He was already running again, his breath coming in controlled gasps. He spotted a computer terminal ahead and skidded to a stop. His fingers flew over the alien interface, quickly bypassing security protocols. In seconds, he had downloaded classified files on Lurian biology and weapons research. As he neared the embassy's outer perimeter, Austin's path was blocked by a shimmering force field. He cursed under his breath, looking frantically for another way out. That's when he spotted it. A Lurian atmospheric vehicle, sleek and alien, parked nearby. Austin approached the vehicle cautiously, examining its unfamiliar controls. Drawing on his engineering training, he identified what appeared to be an access panel. He pried it open, exposing a tangle of bioorganic circuitry. With steady hands, he began to rewire the vehicle's systems. The sound of running feet echoed down the corridor. Austin worked faster, sweat beading on his forehead. Just as the first Lurian guards rounded the corner, the vehicle hummed to life. Austin leapt inside, sealing the cockpit behind him. As he prepared to take off, A familiar voice called out, "Austin, wait!" Petra stood before the vehicle, a weapon aimed at his head. For a tense moment, neither moved. Then slowly, Petra lowered the gun. She reached into her robes and pulled out a small data chip. "This contains evidence of my father's illegal activities," she said, her voice trembling. I can't be part of this anymore. Let me help you expose the truth." Austin hesitated, weighing the risks, but time was running out. He opened the cockpit, allowing Petra to climb in beside him. As the vehicle lifted off, embassy security opened fire. Energy bolts sizzled past them, singeing the vehicle's hull. "Hold on!" Austin shouted, pushing the craft to its limits. Petra gripped her seat, her skin pulsing with fear and exhilaration. As they soared away from the embassy, Austin activated his comm device. "Dr. Rodriguez, this is Holmes. Mission compromised, but I've acquired critical intelligence, requesting immediate extraction." Dr. Rodriguez's voice crackled through the speaker. "Understood, Holmes. A stealth ship is en route to your position. Rendezvous coordinates incoming." As they flew towards the extraction point, Austin and Petra exchanged a look. In that moment, both understood that their actions had irrevocably altered the course of human-Lurian relations. Despite the danger, despite their differences, an undeniable connection had formed between them. The stealth ship decloaked above them, a sleek predator against the alien sky. But as they approached, Petra's eyes widened in alarm. "Austin, look!" she cried, pointing behind them. Austin's heart sank as he saw multiple Lurian military vessels in hot pursuit. The race to reach the human ship and safety had begun. Just begun, the Lurian vessels closed in, their weapons charging with an ominous glow. "Brace for impact!" Austin shouted, pushing the stolen craft to its limits. Suddenly, a shimmering field enveloped their vehicle. The stealth ship had extended its shields, pulling them into its protective embrace. As they entered the docking bay, Austin felt the familiar lurch of acceleration as the human vessel rocketed away from Lurian space. Petra stumbled as they exited the alien craft, unused to human artificial gravity. Austin steadied her, noting the way her skin pulsed with a mix of fear and excitement. "Welcome aboard the UES Phantom," a stern voice greeted them. Commander Jack Harper strode forward, his piercing gaze taking in the unlikely pair. "I hope you have something good for us, Holmes. We just violated about a dozen interstellar treaties getting you out of there." Austin nodded grimly. "More than good, Commander. We may have just saved Earth from an extinction-level threat." As they made their way to the bridge, alarms blared throughout the ship. "Multiple Lurian vessels on an intercept course," reported the tactical officer, her fingers flying over holographic displays. "Engage cloaking device and set course for Earth. Maximum speed," Harper ordered. The ship shuddered slightly as its advanced stealth systems activated, rendering them invisible to Lurian sensors. In the command center, Austin plugged the data chip into the ship's computer. As the information streamed across the displays, he began his debriefing, outlining the Lurian biological weapons program and the frightening capabilities they were developing. Petra stepped forward, her voice trembling slightly. "There's more. My father, Ambassador Zorn, he's part of a secret organization called the Genetic Supremacy Council. They believe Lurians are biologically superior to all other species. Their ultimate goal is to subjugate or eliminate potential rivals, including humans." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Commander Harper's fists tight. "This changes everything. We need to get this information to Earth immediately." As the Phantom sped towards home, Austin found himself drawn to Petra. They spent hours in the ship's observation deck, watching the stars streak by. Petra's curiosity about human culture was insatiable, and Austin found himself explaining everything from Earth's diverse ecosystems to the intricacies of human relationships. In turn, Petra revealed more about Lurian biology. "Our three-gendered reproduction allows for incredible genetic diversity," she explained, her skin shimmering with patterns that seemed to illustrate her words. "It's part of why the Genetic Supremacy Council believes we're superior. But I've come to see that diversity can be found in many forms, not just within a single species." Their growing closeness didn't go unnoticed. Dr. Sarah Chen, the ship's medical officer, approached Austin with concern. I need to conduct a thorough examination of your Lurian friend, she said. We can't risk bringing any potential biological threats to Earth. The examination yielded unexpected results. Dr. Chen's eyes widened as she studied the readings. This is fascinating. Petra's physiology is undergoing subtle changes. It seems prolonged exposure to human pheromones, particularly yours, Austin, is making her more compatible with human biology. Before they could fully process this information, Commander Harper burst into the medical bay. We've received new orders from Earth. The United Earth Defense Council has declared a state of emergency. We're to divert to a secret military base on Mars for debriefing and strategic planning. As they approached the red planet, the tactical officer's voice rang out. Commander, we've detected a Lurian battle fleet entering the solar system. They're broadcasting an ultimatum. Ambassador Zorn's face appeared on the main view screen, his features twisted with rage. Return my daughter and surrender Austin Holmes immediately, or face the consequences of your actions. Austin's mind raced. The human colonies on Mars were now at risk, caught in the crossfire of this escalating conflict. He turned to Commander Harper. Sir, I have a plan. It's risky, but it might be our only chance to prevent all-out war. Harper raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. We infiltrate the Lurian flagship and confront Ambassador Zorn directly. With Petra's help, we can expose the Genetic Supremacy Council's plans to the broader Lurian population. If we can turn public opinion against them, we might be able to avert war. Petra nodded, her skin pulsing with grit. I'll help, but it won't be easy. The flagship is equipped with advanced bioweapons designed to target human physiology. Austin met her gaze. That's where our growing bond might give us an edge. My body has been adapting to your biology. It might provide some protection against their weapons. Dr. Chen stepped forward. I can provide you with specially designed biosuits. They'll help mask your life signs and offer additional protection against Lurian bioweapons. I'll also include advanced communication and hacking equipment. Commander Harper stroked his chin, considering the plan. It's a long shot, but we're out of options. While you two attempt your infiltration, we'll create a distraction. We'll use our holographic projectors to create the illusion of multiple human vessels, drawing their attention away from your approach. As Austin and Petra donned their biosuits, tension filled the air. They would be taking a small, stealthy shuttle to approach the massive Lurian flagship looming in the distance. The fate of two species hung in the balance. Before they boarded the shuttle, Petra reached out, her hand brushing Austin's faceplate. Austin, whatever happens, I want you to know. Austin gently placed his hand over hers. I know, Petra. I feel it too. As the shuttle bay doors opened, revealing the vast expanse of space and the imposing Lurian fleet beyond, Austin took a deep breath. They were about to attempt the impossible, armed with nothing but their wits, advanced technology, and the strength of their unlikely bond. As the small craft detached from the Phantom and accelerated towards the flagship, Austin knew that the real challenge was only just beginning. The shuttle detached from the Phantom with a soft hiss, its stealth systems engaged to the fullest. Austin's hands flew over the controls, guiding their small craft towards the imposing bulk of the Lurian flagship. Petra's skin rippled with anxiety as she watched the massive vessel grow larger in the view screen. There, she whispered, pointing to a barely visible seam in the hull. That's a maintenance airlock. It should be unguarded. Austin nodded, adjusting their approach vector. The shuttle's advanced cloaking technology allowed them to slip past the Lurian defenses undetected. With practiced precision, he maneuvered the craft into position, the docking mechanisms engaging with a soft thunk. Ready? Austin asked, turning to Petra. She nodded, her expression a mix of tenacity and fear. They donned their helmets and moved to the airlock. Petra placed her hand on the external scanner, her unique genetic signature bypassing the initial security measures. The airlock cycled open, admitting them into the bowels of the Lurian ship. Once inside, they removed their helmets, relying on the biosuit's built-in filters. Austin's eyes darted around, taking in the alien architecture. Which way? He whispered. Petra oriented herself, recalling the layouts she'd studied as a child. This way, she replied, leading them down a narrow service corridor. These maintenance tunnels run throughout the ship. We should be able to avoid most of the crew. They move swiftly and silently, their biosuits muffling the sound of their footsteps. Austin marveled at the bioorganic nature of the ship's interior, the walls pulsing faintly like living tissue. Suddenly, Petra froze, holding up a hand. The sound of approaching footsteps echoed from around the corner. "Guards!" she mouthed silently. Austin's eyes scanned their surroundings, spotting a small alcove. He grabbed Petra's hand, pulling her into the tight space. They pressed themselves against the wall, hardly daring to breathe, as a patrol of Lurian guards passed by. In the confined space, Austin became acutely aware of Petra's proximity. Her skin pulsed with a pattern he'd come to recognize as nervousness, and he could feel the warmth of her body through his biosuit. Their eyes met, a moment of unspoken tension passing between them, before Petra broke the silence. "Clear," she whispered, easing out of the alcove. They continued through the ship, eventually reaching a computer terminal. Petra's fingers danced over the alien interface, bypassing security protocols with ease. "I'm in," she announced. "I can access the ship's internal communications from here." As data streamed across the screen, Austin's expression darkened. "Petra, look at this," he said, pointing to a segment of encrypted transmissions. Petra's eyes widened as she decrypted the message. "It's my father. He's addressing the crew." "Oh no." They listened in growing horror as Ambassador Zorn revealed the full extent of the Genetic Supremacy Council's plans. The ambassador's voice dripped with disdain as he spoke of humanity's supposed inferiority and the need to eliminate them as a potential threat. "And so, my loyal Lurians," Zorn's voice boomed, "we shall demonstrate our power and our right to rule. Our bioweapon, specifically engineered to target human DNA, will be deployed on the Mars colony. Let this serve as a warning to Earth and any who would oppose Lurian dominance." Austin's fists clenched at his sides. "We need to stop that weapon," he growled. Petra nodded, her skin now a sickly pale color. "The bioweapons lab, it's our only chance." She pulled up a schematic of the ship. "We can use these maintenance shafts to get there undetected. It's risky, but—" "We don't have a choice," Austin finished. He placed a hand on Petra's shoulder, feeling the tremor that ran through her. "Are you okay with this? It's your people we're going against." Petra's eyes hardened. "My people are wrong, Austin. What they're doing, it goes against everything I believe in. We have to stop them." With newfound grit, they entered the maintenance shaft. The narrow tunnel forced them to crawl on hands and knees, the bioorganic walls pulsing around them. As they progressed, Austin began to feel lightheaded, his breathing becoming labored. "Austin?" Petra's voice was permeated with concern. "You don't look well." He shook his head, trying to clear the fog settling over his mind. "I'm fine. We need to keep moving." But as they emerged from the shaft near the bioweapons lab, Austin stumbled, catching himself against the wall. Petra steadied him, her eyes wide with alarm. "It's the bioweapon," she realized. "There must be trace amounts in the air. Your suit's filters aren't fully effective against it." Austin's vision swam, his legs threatening to give out beneath him. We have to keep going," he gasped. Petra's expression set with tenacity. "No, I can help." She placed her hands on either side of Austin's face, her skin beginning to glow softly. "This might feel strange," she warned. Austin felt a tingling sensation spread from Petra's touch, followed by a pulling feeling, as if something was being drawn out of him. His head began to clear, his breathing easing. What did you do?" he asked in wonder. "I absorbed the toxins," Petra explained, her skin now rippling with an unfamiliar pattern. "It's a Lurian ability, but I've never used it quite like this before." As Austin regained his strength, he noticed a change in Petra. Her movements seemed more fluid, her reactions quicker. The exposure to the toxins and her absorption of them from Austin had altered her physiology further, making her more resistant to the bioweapons effects. With renewed commitment, they approached the entrance to the bioweapons lab. Austin readied his stolen Lurian weapon, while Petra prepared to use her genetic signature to bypass the security. "Ready?" Austin asked, locking eyes with Petra. She nodded, her skin pulsing with a mix of fear and dedication. Ready. The door slid open, revealing the sterile interior of the lab. Lurian scientists looked up in surprise as Austin and Petra burst in, their fate and the future of human-Lurian relations hanging in the balance. Balance. The scientists froze, their eyes wide with shock as they took in the intruders. Austin didn't hesitate. He raised his weapon, aiming it at the nearest console. "Step away from your stations," he commanded, his voice firm despite the lingering effects of the toxin exposure. Petra moved swiftly to a central terminal, her fingers flying over the controls. "I'm accessing the bioweapon data now," she said, her skin pulsing with concentration. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the ship. A voice boomed over the intercom. "Intruder alert! All personnel to battle stations. Loyalist ships approaching." Austin's mind raced. They were out of time. He turned to Petra. "We need to do something fast." Petra nodded, her eyes never leaving the screen. "I have an idea. The bioweapon delivery system. We can use it against the Loyalist ships." As Petra worked furiously at the terminal, Austin's engineering instincts kicked in. He noticed a nearby panel marked with Lurian symbols for shield control. Without hesitation, he pried it open and began rewiring the circuitry. "What are you doing?" Petra asked, glancing over her shoulder. "Enhancing the shields," Austin replied, his hands moving with practiced efficiency. "If we're going to stand a chance against those ships, we need all the protection we can get." The ship shuddered as the first volley from the Loyalist vessels struck. Austin finished his modifications just as Petra stepped back from the terminal. "Done," she announced. "I've reconfigured the bioweapon to release a harmless but disorienting gas. It should cause confusion among the enemy crews without harming them." Austin nodded approvingly. "Good thinking. Now we just need to—" His words were cut off as another blast rocked the ship. Suddenly, the view screen in the lab flickered to life, revealing a familiar face. "This is Commander Jack Harper of the Earthship Phantom," the gruff voice announced. "We've decloaked and are moving to assist." Relief washed over Austin. "Jack, perfect timing." As the space battle intensified, Austin and Petra worked in tandem. Austin's enhanced shields held against the onslaught, while Petra utilized her intimate knowledge of Lurian tactics to predict and counter the enemy's moves. Suddenly, Petra gasped, her eyes widening. "Austin, something's happening. I can feel the ship." Before Austin could respond, Petra's skin began to glow with an intense light. She placed her hands on the nearest console, and to Austin's amazement, holographic displays sprang to life around her. "I can interface directly with the ship's systems," Petra said, her voice filled with wonder and strain. "It must be a result of our bond and the changes to my physiology." Austin watched in awe as Petra began controlling multiple systems simultaneously, coordinating their defenses with inhuman efficiency. However, he could see the toll it was taking on her. Sweat beaded on her forehead, and her skin pulsed with erratic patterns. He moved to her side, placing a supportive hand on her shoulder. "You're doing great, Petra. Just hold on." As the battle raged, a new signal appeared on their sensors. A massive ship, easily dwarfing the Loyalist vessels, dropped out of faster-than-light travel. "This is Admiral Zira of the Lurian Ecological Harmony faction," a strong female voice announced over the comms. "We stand with Austin Holmes and Petra Zorn against the crimes of the Genetic Supremacy Council." With Admiral Zira's arrival, the tide of the battle quickly turned. The Loyalist ships, caught between the combined forces of the Phantom, the hijacked flagship, and Admiral Zira's imposing vessel, began to falter. Austin seized the moment. "Petra, now! Deploy the gas!" With a thought, Petra activated the modified bioweapon delivery system. Clouds of disorienting gas billowed from the flagship, enveloping the Loyalist ships. On the displays, they could see the enemy crews stumbling in confusion. "Broadcast the evidence," Austin urged. "Show them the truth about the Council." Petra nodded, her face etched with concentration, as she sent the damning information to all Lurian vessels. Almost immediately, they began to see the results. Loyalist crews, confronted with the Council's treachery, began to stand down or defect to Admiral Zira's side. As victory seemed within reach, a new alarm blared through the ship. Austin's blood ran cold as he saw Ambassador Zorn's face appear on a nearby screen, his features contorted with rage. "You think you've won?" Zorn snarled. "I'll see this ship and your precious Mars turn to ash before I surrender." The ship rumbled ominously as its main cannon began to power up, its massive energy readings directed squarely at the red planet looming in the distance. "No!" Petra cried out, her connection to the ship allowing her to see the weapon's activation sequence. "The cannon is tied directly to my father's biological signature. We can't shut it down without—" She trailed off, unable to finish the thought. Austin's mind raced, searching for a solution. Then he remembered the trace amounts of the bioweapon still in his system. "Petra," he said urgently, "I have an idea, but it's dangerous and I'll need your help." As Austin explained his plan, Petra's eyes widened with a mix of fear and tenacity. Time was running out, and they both knew this might be their only chance to save Mars and end the conflict once and for all. With a shared nod of understanding, Austin and Petra raced out of the lab, heading towards the bridge where Ambassador Zorn had barricaded himself. The fate of two worlds now rested on their shoulders, and the true test of their bond was about to begin. The ship's alarms blared as Austin and Petra raced through the corridors, their hearts pounding in unison. They knew they had mere minutes before Ambassador Zorn could activate the main cannon and obliterate Mars. As they approached the bridge, Austin felt a surge of dizziness, a reminder of his recent exposure to the bioweapon. Petra steadied him, her skin pulsing with concern. "Are you sure about this?" she asked, her voice barely audible over the alarms. Austin nodded grimly. "It's our only shot." They burst onto the bridge, catching Ambassador Zorn off guard. The Lurian leader's eyes widened in shock, then narrowed with fury. "You!" he snarled, reaching for a nearby control panel. Austin lunged forward, tackling Zorn to the ground. As they grappled, Petra dashed to the main console, her fingers flying over the alien interface. "Hurry!" Austin grunted, struggling to keep Zorn pinned. Petra's skin flickered with concentration as she worked to override the cannon systems. Suddenly, she gasped. "It's not working! The fail-safes are too complex!" Zorn laughed bitterly. "Did you really think you could stop me so easily?" In that moment, Austin made a split-second decision. He released Zorn and staggered to his feet, moving towards Petra. "What are you doing?" she asked, bewildered. "Trust me," Austin said, his voice hoarse. He placed his hand on the console, next to Petra's. "Use your ability, draw out the toxins from my system, and channel them into the ship's internal sensors." Petra's eyes widened with understanding. Without hesitation, she placed her free hand on Austin's chest. The familiar tingling sensation spread through his body as Petra began to absorb the remaining traces of the bioweapon. As Zorn lunged for them, Petra's skin began to glow brightly. She channeled the absorbed toxins into the ship's system, using her newfound connection to the Lurian technology. The effect was immediate. The ship's internal sensors, detecting the presence of the modified bioweapon, triggered an emergency shutdown. The main cannon powered down, its targeting systems going offline. Zorn howled in frustration as the bridge's emergency containment protocols activated, sealing him in a force field. "You fools! Do you have any idea what you've done?" Before either Austin or Petra could respond, the bridge's view screen flickered to life. Admiral Zira's face appeared, her expression a mix of relief and persistence. "Well done," she said. "We've gained control of the remaining Loyalist ships. The immediate threat has been neutralized." Austin sagged against the console, exhaustion finally overtaking him. Petra supported him, her skin pulsing with a pattern he now recognized as deep concern tinged with affection. "What happens now?" Austin asked weakly. Admiral Zira's expression softened slightly. "Now, we begin the difficult task of healing the rift between our peoples. And for that, we'll need your help, both of you." As the adrenaline of the moment faded, Austin became acutely aware of the warmth of Petra's touch, the way her skin seemed to shimmer in response to his proximity. They exchanged a look, unspoken questions passing between them. Their moment was interrupted as Commander Harper's voice came over the comms. "Austin, Petra, are you all right? We're preparing to dock." "We're fine, Jack," Austin replied, his eyes never leaving Petra's. "Just a little overwhelmed." As the Phantom docked with the Lurian flagship, Austin and Petra found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of activity. Medical teams swarmed them, insisting on immediate examinations. Security personnel took Ambassador Zorn into custody, his furious protests echoing through the corridors. Amidst the chaos, Admiral Zira approached them, her commanding presence parting the crowd. "You've done a great service today," she said solemnly. "But I'm afraid your journey is not nearly finished. We need to get you to Earth immediately. The United Earth Defense Council will want to debrief you, and our scientists are eager to study the unique effects of your interaction." Austin and Petra exchanged worried glances. The idea of being separated for questioning and examinations filled them both with a sense of unease. "With all due respect, Admiral," Austin began, but Zira held up a hand to stop him. "I understand your concerns," she said, her tone softening slightly. "But this is bigger than just the two of you now. The future of human-Lurian relations may well depend on what we learn from your experiences." As they were led to Admiral Zira's ship, Austin felt Petra's hand slip into his. Her skin pulsed with a mixture of anxiety and drive. "Whatever happens," she whispered, "we're in this together." Austin squeezed her hand in response, trying to ignore the curious stares from both humans and Lurians as they boarded the ship. As the airlock sealed behind them, he couldn't shake the feeling that they were leaving behind more than just the scene of their victory. They were stepping into a new chapter of their lives, one that would challenge them in ways they couldn't yet imagine. The journey to Earth was a blur of medical examinations and debriefings. Austin and Petra were kept separate for most of the trip, much to their dismay. When they finally entered Earth's atmosphere, both felt a mix of relief and apprehension. As Admiral Zira's ship touched down at the high-security United Earth Defense Council facility, Austin caught a glimpse of Petra being escorted off the ship by a team of human and Lurian scientists. Their eyes met briefly before she disappeared into a nearby building. Austin was led to a different structure, his mind racing with questions about what lay ahead. As he entered a sterile examination room, he was greeted by a familiar face. "Hello, Austin," Dr. Sarah Chen said, her expression a mixture of professional curiosity and genuine concern. "We have a lot to talk about." Austin took a deep breath, steeling himself for whatever came next. As the door closed behind him, he couldn't help but wonder where Petra was and what she was going through. Little did he know, their shared ordeal was only the beginning of a journey that would reshape the future of two species. As the door closed behind him, Austin couldn't help but wonder where Petra was and what she was going through. Little did he know, their shared ordeal was only the beginning of a journey that would reshape the future of two worlds. Weeks passed in a whirlwind of tests, debriefings, and preparations. Austin and Petra were kept apart for most of this time, their interactions limited to brief, supervised meetings. Finally, the day arrived for their appearance before the joint Human-Lurian Assembly. As they waited backstage, Austin felt a mixture of nervousness and anticipation. He glanced at Petra, noticing the soft glow emanating from her skin. His own body had begun to exhibit similar bioluminescent properties, a side effect of their unique bond. "Ready?" he asked, offering a reassuring smile. Petra nodded, her skin pulsing with a pattern that Austin had come to recognize as purpose. "As I'll ever be." The assembly hall fell silent as they stepped onto the stage. Hundreds of eyes, both human and Lurian, fixed upon them. Austin's enhanced senses picked up the subtle gasps and murmurs, rippling through the crowd. Dr. Chen approached the podium, her voice steady as she addressed the assembly. "Distinguished delegates, I present to you Austin Holmes and Petra Zorn. Their unprecedented physiological compatibility represents a new frontier in human-Lurian relations." As Dr. Chen outlined the preliminary findings of their research, Austin felt a strange tingling sensation spreading through his body. He glanced at Petra and saw her eyes widen in surprise. The bioluminescence of their skin intensified, casting a soft glow across the stage. Suddenly, Austin's mind exploded with sensation. He could feel Petra's nervousness, her curiosity, her affection for him. It was as if their minds had merged. thoughts and emotions flowing freely between them. "What's happening?" Petra's voice echoed in his mind. "I don't know," Austin thought back, marveling at the ease of their mental communication. Their shared confusion must have been evident on their faces, because Dr. Chen paused her presentation, looking at them with concern. "Austin, Petra, is everything all right?" Before either of them could respond, chaos erupted in the assembly hall. Human delegates began to collapse, gasping for air. Austin's enhanced senses detected a faint, acrid smell in the air. "Bioweapon!" he shouted, his voice carrying over the growing panic. Petra's mind brushed against his, conveying her intention. Without hesitation, she interfaced with the building's environmental systems, her skin glowing brightly as she worked to filter out the toxic agent. Austin sprang into action, coordinating with the security forces to evacuate the affected humans. Their mental link allowed them to work in perfect synchronization, anticipating each other's moves and sharing information instantaneously. As they worked to contain the crisis, Dr. Chen approached them, her eyes alight with scientific curiosity despite the chaos around them. "Your mental link," she said breathlessly. "It could be the key to neutralizing the bioweapon and advancing human-Lurian compatibility." Admiral Zira's voice cut through the commotion. "This attack bears the hallmarks of a splinter faction of the Genetic Supremacy Council. We must act quickly to apprehend them." As the situation stabilized, the assembly reconvened in a secure location. Austin and Petra, still mentally linked, stood before the delegates once more. Their shared consciousness allowed them to present a united front, finishing each other's sentences and providing a comprehensive account of their experiences. "We propose the formation of an elite human-Lurian task force," Austin began. "With ourselves as the prototype for future partnerships," Petra continued seamlessly. Their suggestion was met with murmurs of approval from both human and Lurian delegates. However, as discussions continued, Austin began to feel a strain on his sense of self. Memories and thoughts that weren't his own flooded his mind, threatening to overwhelm his identity. Dr. Chen noticed their discomfort and pulled them aside. "The prolonged mental link is putting immense strain on your neural pathways," she explained in a hushed tone. "If this continues, we risk irreversible neural fusion. You could lose your individual identities entirely." The weight of this revelation hit Austin and Petra simultaneously, their shared shock reverberating through their mental link. They faced an impossible choice: sever their connection and potentially lose a crucial advantage in the fight against the extremists, or risk losing themselves entirely. As they grappled with this dilemma, news arrived that Ambassador Zorn had offered crucial information about the extremist group in exchange for leniency. His cooperation had led to the discovery of the group's main base of operations, hidden in an asteroid belt between Earth and Mars. Admiral Zira approached them, her expression grave. "We're forming a task force to infiltrate the extremist base. Given your unique abilities, we'd like you to lead the operation. However, I understand if you need time to consider, given your current condition." Austin and Petra exchanged a look, their mental link thrumming with a mix of dedication and fear. They knew that the success of this mission could determine the future of human-Lurian cooperation, but at what cost to themselves? As preparations for the mission began, Dr. Chen presented them with another option. "I've developed an experimental procedure that could potentially allow you to control your mental link," she explained. "You could connect and disconnect at will. However, the risks are significant, including permanent brain damage." Austin felt Petra's mind brush against his, a wordless question passing between them. They stood at a crossroads, the fate of two species and their own identities hanging in the balance. The choice before them was clear: undergo the risky procedure and potentially gain control over their unique abilities, or embark on the dangerous mission in their current linked state, knowing they might never be able to separate their consciousnesses again. As they prepared to make their decision, alarms blared throughout the facility. The extremist group had made their move and time was running out. Out. The facility shook and emergency lights bathed the corridors in an eerie red glow. "We're out of time," Dr. Chen said urgently. "Austin, Petra, we need your decision now." Austin's eyes met Petra's, their mental link humming with shared grit. "We'll do it," they said in unison. Minutes later, they lay on adjacent operating tables in a specially designed medical bay. Human and Lurian medical experts bustled around them, preparing for the experimental procedure. "This will stabilize your neural connection," Dr. Chen explained, her voice steady despite the chaos outside. "It should allow you to control the link at will." As the anesthesia took hold, Austin felt Petra's consciousness brush against his. The last thing he saw before darkness claimed him was the soft glow of her skin, pulsing in sync with his own. The procedure was a maelstrom of sensation. Colors swirled in Austin's mind, accompanied by flashes of memory, both his and Petra's. Their bodies glowed brighter than ever, bathing the operating room in an otherworldly light. When Austin regained consciousness, the first thing he noticed was silence. The constant hum of Petra's thoughts, which had become so familiar, was gone. Panic gripped him until he saw her stirring on the adjacent table. "Petra?" he called out, his voice hoarse. She turned to him, her eyes wide with wonder. "Austin, I can't hear you anymore. Not in my head." Dr. Chen approached, her face a mixture of relief and excitement. "The procedure was successful. You should now be able to control your mental link at will. Try to connect." Austin closed his eyes, focusing on the familiar sensation of Petra's mind. Suddenly, her thoughts flooded into his consciousness, clear and strong. "It worked," Petra's voice echoed in his mind. They practiced connecting and disconnecting several times, marveling at their newfound control. The breakthrough was short-lived, however, as Admiral Zira burst into the room. "We need you both. Now," she said, her tone leaving no room for argument, "the extremists have accelerated their plans. We're launching the mission immediately." Within the hour, Austin and Petra found themselves aboard a sleek stealth ship, leading a joint human-Lurian task force towards the asteroid belt. The ship's advanced cloaking technology rendered them invisible to conventional sensors. As they approached the hidden base, Austin and Petra activated their mental link. The familiar connection bloomed between them, enhancing their coordination and strategic planning. "I'm detecting a complex defense grid," Petra communicated silently. "But there's a weakness in the sensor array near the southern pole." Austin nodded, relaying the information to the pilot. The ship glided through space, nimbly avoiding detection. As they neared the asteroid, Austin's engineering expertise meshed seamlessly with Petra's knowledge of Lurian technology. Together, they devised a plan to bypass the base's security measures. The task force split into smaller teams upon infiltration. Austin and Petra led the main assault group, their movements fluid and synchronized as they navigated the winding corridors of the base. As they approached the central command center, alarms blared. The extremists had detected their presence. Austin and Petra exchanged a glance, their linked minds formulating a new strategy on the fly. They burst into the command center, stunning the unprepared extremists with a coordinated attack. As Austin secured the perimeter, Petra interfaced with the base's computer systems. Her eyes widened in horror. "Austin," she called out, both aloud and mentally. "They're preparing to launch a massive attack. Automated ships armed with advanced bioweapons. Earth and the Lurian homeworld are both targets." Austin's mind raced, calculating the implications. "How long do we have?" "Hours, at most," Petra replied, her fingers flying over the control panel as she attempted to sabotage the launch sequence. Suddenly, a cold voice cut through the chaos. "I'm afraid I can't allow that." Austin spun to face the speaker, a tall Lurian with piercing eyes and an air of cold intelligence. He recognized him from briefing files. Dr. Zalax, a rogue Lurian scientist. "You're too late," Zalax sneered. "My plan is already in motion. Conflict breeds evolution. Through this war, both our species will be forced to adapt, to become stronger." As Zalax monologued, Austin noticed Petra slowly inching towards a secondary control panel. Through their link, he sensed her plan and moved to distract the scientist. "You're insane," Austin declared, keeping Zalax's attention focused on him. "This won't lead to evolution. It's genocide." Zalax's eyes narrowed. "Sacrifices must be made for progress. You've already proven my theories correct with your bond." He spat the last word like a curse. Before Austin could respond, alarms blared throughout the base. Zalax's eyes widened in shock as he realized what was happening. "No!" he shouted, lunging for the controls. But it was too late. Petra had activated the base's self-destruct sequence. The asteroid shuddered ominously around them. "We need to move," Petra said urgently, both aloud and through their link. "We have minutes before this whole place blows." Austin nodded, relaying evacuation orders to the rest of the task force. As they raced through the crumbling base, he and Petra worked in perfect synchronization, using their linked abilities to guide their team past malfunctioning security systems and collapsing corridors. They reached the hangar bay, their escape within sight, only to find their path blocked. Dr. Zalax stood before them, surrounded by a group of loyal extremists, his eyes burning with fanatical rage. "If I'm to die here," he snarled, "I'm taking you with me." The ensuing battle was chaotic and brutal. Austin and Petra moved as one, their enhanced coordination giving them an edge against the numerically superior enemy. But as the fight raged on, the base continued to break apart around them. A massive explosion rocked the hangar, breaching the outer wall. The sudden decompression began pulling everything towards the vacuum of space. Austin and Petra struggled against the pull, fighting to reach their ship while fending off the remaining extremists. In the chaos, Dr. Zalax made a desperate lunge for Petra, intent on dragging her into space with him. Time seemed to slow as Austin saw Petra's danger through their mental link. Without conscious thought, he moved. His hand shot out, grasping Petra's wrist just as Zalax's fingers brushed her ankle. For a moment, they were suspended in a tableau of desperation. Then, with a final, hateful glare, Zalax lost his grip and was sucked out into the void of the asteroid field. Austin pulled Petra to safety as their team secured the hangar. They boarded their ship with seconds to spare, the engines roaring to life as they fled the doomed asteroid base. As they sped towards the safety of the joint human-Lurian fleet, Austin and Petra received confirmation that the automated attack ships had been neutralized. Their mission was a success, but both knew that their lives would never be the same. Exhausted, they sat together in the ship's medbay, their hands intertwined. Through their link, they shared a moment of quiet reflection, acknowledging the challenges that lay ahead. Their unique bond had saved two worlds, but it had also set them apart from both humans and Lurians. As Earth grew larger in the view screen, Austin and Petra steeled themselves for what was to come. The future was uncertain, but they would face it together. Two minds, two species, united in a way no one had ever been before. As Earth grew larger in the view screen, Austin and Petra steeled themselves for what was to come. The future was uncertain, but they would face it together. Two minds, two species, united in a way no one had ever been before. Their return to Earth was met with a hero's welcome. Cheering crowds of humans and Lurians alike lined the streets, waving flags and holding signs celebrating their victory. News broadcasts hailed them as the saviors of both worlds, their faces plastered across every screen and holographic display. But as the initial euphoria faded, the reality of their situation began to set in. Austin and Petra found themselves at the center of a whirlwind of scientific curiosity and political maneuvering. The United Earth Defense Council and the Lurian High Command quickly established a joint facility to study their unique physiology and abilities. "Welcome to the Interspecies Harmony Institute," Dr. Chen said, leading them through sliding doors into a vast, gleaming complex. "This will be your new home for the foreseeable future." The facility was a marvel of human and Lurian engineering, filled with advanced medical equipment and laboratories. Austin's eyes widened as he took in the array of technology, his mind already racing with the possibilities. Petra's skin pulsed with a soft blue glow, her own excitement evident. "It's incredible," she said, her voice echoing in Austin's mind through their link. Their days quickly fell into a routine of rigorous testing and examinations. Scientists from both species worked tirelessly to unlock the secrets of their hybrid physiology. Austin and Petra pushed themselves to the limits, discovering new facets of their abilities with each passing day. During one particularly intense session, Austin found himself lifting weights that would have been impossible for any normal human. Petra, meanwhile, demonstrated an ability to process complex mathematical equations at speeds that left the Lurian scientists in awe. Dr. Chen approached them after the tests, her face alight with excitement. Your hybrid physiology is granting you enhanced strength, accelerated healing, and improved cognitive functions, she explained. The potential applications are staggering. As word of their abilities spread, public interest in Austin and Petra reached a fever pitch. Media outlets clamored for exclusive interviews, and paparazzi drones constantly hovered outside the Institute's grounds. Austin, Petra, how does it feel to be the first human-Lurian hybrid couple? A reporter shouted as they made a rare public appearance. Austin felt Petra's discomfort through their link and quickly ushered her back inside. The constant scrutiny was taking its toll on both of them. I never asked for this, Petra said later that night, her skin dimming with frustration. We saved the world, but at what cost? Austin took her hand, feeling the familiar tingle of their connection. We're in this together, he reassured her. We'll find a way through it. Their respite was short-lived. The next morning, Dr. Chen burst into their quarters, her eyes wide with excitement. We've made a breakthrough, she announced. Your hybrid DNA contains the key to neutralizing a wide range of biological weapons, including those developed by the Extremist group. The revelation set off a flurry of activity. Both human and Lurian governments fast-tracked a joint defense program based on their genetic material. Austin and Petra found themselves at the center of high-level briefings and strategy sessions. During one such meeting, a familiar face appeared on the holographic display. Ambassador Zorn, his expression a mixture of remorse and perseverance, addressed the assembled officials. I have information on remaining genetic supremacy council cells, he said, his voice grave. I hope this will help make amends for my past actions. Austin and Petra exchanged a glance, their link humming with shared determination. They knew what was coming next. Admiral Zira stepped forward, her posture rigid. We're assembling a task force to dismantle these threats, she announced. Austin, Petra, we need your unique abilities to lead these operations. The missions that followed were intense and dangerous. Austin and Petra moved like ghosts through hidden bases and secret laboratories, their mental link allowing them to coordinate with deadly precision. They neutralized bioweapon caches and apprehended key conspirators, slowly dismantling the remnants of the Extremist network. During one such operation, they found themselves infiltrating a remote Lurian colony. The facility was unlike anything they had encountered before, filled with strange equipment and eerie, pulsating containers. This place gives me the creeps, Austin thought, knowing Petra would pick up on his unease through their link. Petra's response was tinged with concern. These machines, they're not standard Lurian tech. Something's off here. As they delved deeper into the facility, they uncovered computer files that sent shockwaves through their shared consciousness. The data pointed to ongoing experiments in genetic manipulation, aimed at creating a new breed of super soldiers. But it was the final piece of information that truly chilled them to the core. There, hidden in the depths of the encrypted files, was evidence that Dr. Zalax, the man they had seen sucked into the void of space, might still be alive. Austin's mind reeled at the implications. If Zalax survived, Petra finished his thought, then everything we've accomplished could be at risk. As they prepared to transmit their findings back to Earth, alarms blared throughout the facility. They had been discovered. Time to go, Austin said aloud, his body tensing for action. Petra nodded, her skin pulsing with battle-ready energy. Let's move. Together they raced through the corridors, their movements in perfect sync, as they fought their way back to their extraction point. The future of human-Lurian relations hung in the balance, and they knew that their greatest challenge was still to come. As they prepared to transmit their findings back to Earth, a priority message flashed across their secure comm channel. Admiral Zira's holographic image materialized before them, her expression grave. Austin, Petra, we need you back at the Interspecies Harmony Institute immediately, she said, her voice tinged with urgency. There's been a development. The journey back to Earth was tense, filled with speculation about what could be so important. As they approached the Institute, Austin noticed increased security measures around the perimeter. Petra's skin pulsed with a soft blue glow, reflecting her growing anxiety. Upon arrival, they were ushered into a private medical bay where Dr. Chen waited, her face a mix of excitement and concern. "We've detected something unprecedented," she said, gesturing for Petra to lie on the examination table. As the scan commenced, Austin held Petra's hand, their mental link humming with shared apprehension. Dr. Chen's eyes widened as she studied the results. "Congratulations," she said softly. "You're pregnant." The news hit them like a shockwave. Austin's mind reeled, while Petra's skin flared with a brilliant burst of bioluminescence. Through their link, they shared a moment of pure, unadulterated joy, quickly followed by a cascade of questions and concerns. "How is this possible?" Austin asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Chen shook her head, clearly as amazed as they were. "Your hybrid physiologies have made the impossible possible. This is unprecedented in human-Lurian relations." The news spread rapidly, causing a global sensation. Within hours, media outlets were broadcasting the story worldwide, igniting intense debates about the implications of human-Lurian hybridization. Days later, Austin and Petra found themselves summoned to an emergency meeting of the Institute's board of directors. The atmosphere in the conference room was tense, with human and Lurian officials eyeing each other warily. "The potential risks of this pregnancy are unknown," began Dr. Yuvel, a stern-faced Lurian scientist. "We propose placing Petra under strict medical supervision for the duration of her pregnancy here at the Institute." Austin bristled at the suggestion. "You mean confine her here? Absolutely not. We've risked our lives for both our species. We deserve our freedom." The debate escalated quickly, revealing deep-seated tensions between those who supported further integration and those who feared its consequences. As voices raised and tempers flared, Petra suddenly clutched Austin's arm, her skin pulsing rapidly. "Austin," she whispered through their link, "something's wrong." Before he could respond, alarms blared throughout the facility. Security feeds flickered to life on the room's screens, showing a group of armed intruders breaching the Institute's outer defenses. "Attention, Interspecies Harmony Institute," a voice boomed over the facility's speakers. "This is Marcus Venn. We demand that Austin and Petra surrender themselves immediately. Their abomination threatens the purity of both our species." Chaos erupted in the conference room. Austin's military training kicked in as he assessed the situation. "We need to evacuate non-essential personnel," he barked, taking charge. "Petra, can you coordinate with security to secure safe routes?" Petra nodded, her eyes closing in concentration as she interfaced with the Institute's systems through their neural implants. Austin turned to the board members. "We need to get to the command center. It's our best chance to coordinate a defense." As they made their way through the corridors, Austin and Petra worked in perfect synchronization. Through their mental link, they coordinated security teams, sealed off sections of the facility, and guided civilians to safety. Reaching the command center, they found it a hive of activity. Screens displayed the Extremist progress through the facility. Austin's eyes narrowed as he spotted a familiar face among the attackers. "That's Marcus Venn," he said, pointing to a tall, scarred man barking orders. "Ex-military, dishonorably discharged for extremist views. He's dangerous." Petra's skin pulsed with willpower. "I have an idea," she said, both aloud and through their link. "If I can access the chemical synthesis lab, I might be able to create a non-lethal compound to incapacitate them." Austin nodded, understanding her plan instantly through their connection. "Do it. I'll coordinate our defenses here." As Petra raced to the lab, Austin turned his attention to fortifying their position. He directed security teams to choke points, using his engineering expertise to create makeshift barriers and traps. In the lab, Petra worked feverishly, her hands flying over equipment as she combined human and Lurian biochemistry. Within minutes, she had synthesized a compound that would render both species unconscious without lasting harm. "It's ready," she communicated to Austin. "I'm distributing it to security teams now." As the extremists breached the inner defenses, Austin led a counterattack. Security forces armed with Petra's compound engaged the intruders, neutralizing them efficiently. Amidst the chaos, Austin received an alert through their neural link. The central database? Petra's voice rang in his mind. Ven's trying to access it. Realizing the danger of their physiological data falling into the wrong hands, Austin and Petra sprinted toward the data center. They arrived to find Ven furiously working at a terminal, attempting to download classified files. Step away from the console, Austin commanded, his voice steely. Ven spun, a look of contempt twisting his features. The abominations themselves, he sneered. Come to stop progress? What followed was a fierce hand-to-hand battle. Ven's military training made him a formidable opponent, matching Austin and Petra's enhanced abilities. The couple moved in perfect synchronization, their mental link allowing them to anticipate each other's moves and cover any weaknesses. Suddenly, Petra faltered, a wave of nausea overwhelming her. Austin sensed her distress instantly, moving to shield her from Ven's attack. The extremist leader seized the opportunity, landing a powerful blow that sent Austin reeling. As Ven moved in for the kill, Petra's body reacted instinctively. Her skin erupted in a blinding flash of bioluminescent energy, temporarily blinding Ven. Austin, recovering quickly, tackled the disoriented man, subduing him with a swift series of strikes. With Ven secured, Austin and Petra worked to restore the Institute's communications. As order was reestablished, reports flooded in of similar attacks thwarted at other human Lurian facilities across the solar system. In the aftermath, the board of directors reconvened. Chastened by Austin and Petra's bravery, they rescinded their decision to confine Petra. Instead, they proposed creating a new, more secure facility where the couple could continue their work and prepare for their child's birth under enhanced protection. As Austin and Petra began planning for this new chapter, an urgent communication from Admiral Zira interrupted their discussions. Her holographic image appeared before them, her expression grim. "We've located Dr. Xalax," she announced, her voice tight. "He's on a remote exoplanet at the edge of Lurian space, continuing his hybrid experiments with stolen data from the Institute." Austin and Petra exchanged a look, their mental link buzzing with shared concern. They faced an impossible choice: remain on Earth to ensure their unborn child's safety, or embark on a perilous mission to stop Xalax and prevent the creation of an uncontrolled hybrid army. As they grappled with the weight of their decision, alarms once again blared throughout the facility. On the security feeds, they watched in horror as a sleek, unfamiliar ship descended from the sky, its intentions unknown but undoubtedly hostile. Ominous. Austin and Petra exchanged a glance, their mental link buzzing with shared concern. As the ship descended, its sleek form became clearer, revealing an unfamiliar design that blended human and Lurian technology. "That's not one of ours," Austin said, his voice tight with tension. Petra's skin pulsed with a soft blue glow. "Nor is it Lurian. Could it be—" Before she could finish her thought, a crackling voice came through the Institute's communication system. "Attention, Interspecies Harmony Institute. This is Captain Ilara of the hybrid vessel Nexus. We come seeking asylum and assistance." The revelation sent shockwaves through the facility. Admiral Zira's holographic image flickered to life once more, her expression a mix of surprise and drive. "Austin, Petra, we need you to handle this. Your unique abilities make you the best equipped to deal with whatever this is." As the couple made their way to the landing pad, they discussed their options through their mental link. The arrival of a hybrid ship complicated their decision regarding Dr. Xalax's threat. They knew they couldn't ignore either situation. The ship's ramp lowered, revealing a diverse crew of human Lurian hybrids. Captain Ilara, a tall woman with bioluminescent patterns swirling across her skin, stepped forward. "We've come a long way to find you," she said, her eyes locking onto Austin and Petra. "We need your help." Austin's military training kicked in as he assessed the situation. "Let's move this inside. We have a lot to discuss." As they escorted the hybrid crew to a secure conference room, Petra's mind raced with possibilities. Through their link, Austin sensed her growing commitment. They both knew what they had to do. Once everyone was settled, Austin addressed the room. "We're facing two significant threats: Dr. Xalax's experiments on a remote exoplanet, and now, whatever situation has brought you here, he said, nodding to Captain Alara. Petra stepped forward, her skin pulsing with purpose. We propose a joint mission. Our team will go after Dr. Zalax, while Captain Alara's crew works with the Institute to address their needs and share their knowledge. The room erupted in discussion, but Admiral Zira's holographic form raised a hand for silence. It's a risk, but one we must take. Austin, Petra, assemble your team. You leave in 6 hours. The next few hours were a whirlwind of activity. Austin and Petra worked tirelessly to select their team members, each chosen for their unique skills and unwavering commitment to interspecies cooperation. Dr. Chen insisted on joining them, her expertise in hybrid physiology deemed crucial for the mission. As they prepared to board their state-of-the-art stealth vessel, Austin pulled Petra aside. "Are you sure about this?" he asked, his hand gently resting on her abdomen. "The risks to you and the baby." Petra's skin glowed with a soft, reassuring light. "We're doing this for our child, Austin, for the future we want to build." With a final nod to Admiral Zira and Captain Alara, the team boarded their ship and launched into the stars. As Earth faded behind them, Austin and Petra stood at the view screen, their hands intertwined. "Next stop, the edge of Lurian space," Austin said, his voice filled with purpose. Petra's skin pulsed in agreement. "And Dr. Zalax." The journey to the remote exoplanet was tense but productive. Dr. Chen worked closely with Austin and Petra, monitoring the health of their unborn child and preparing for any potential complications. The couple's bond grew stronger as they faced the uncertainty of their future together. As they approached their destination, Austin gathered the team for a final briefing. "We don't know exactly what we're walking into," he said, his voice steady, "but we know it's dangerous. Dr. Zalax has been conducting hybrid experiments without any oversight or ethics. We're here to shut him down and bring him to justice." Petra's skin rippled with a mix of anticipation and anxiety. "Remember your training?" she added. "We move as one unit. Watch each other's backs." The exoplanet loomed before them, a swirling mass of green and purple. As they entered the atmosphere, their sensors picked up a faint energy signature. Following the trail, they discovered a massive cliff face with an unnatural indentation. "There," Petra said, pointing to a barely visible seam in the rock. "The facility entrance." Austin nodded, turning to the team. "Stealth is key. We go in quiet, we find Zalax, we shut down his operation. Any questions?" The team's silence was answer enough. As they prepared for insertion, Austin and Petra shared a private moment through their mental link. Their thoughts intertwined, a mixture of love, fear, and unwavering perseverance. The ship touched down silently, its cloaking technology masking their arrival. As the team disembarked, the alien landscape stretched out before them, full of unknown dangers. Austin and Petra took point, their enhanced senses and mental link making them the perfect advance team. They approached the hidden entrance, their hearts pounding in unison. With a shared nod, they began their infiltration, ready to face whatever horrors Dr. Zalax had created in his twisted pursuit of hybrid perfection. As they breached the facility's outer defenses, alarms blared to life. The element of surprise was lost, but their mission remained clear. They pushed forward, deeper into the heart of Zalax's lair, unaware of the true scale of the madness that awaited them.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.